And in front of me, I have an 11 by 15, a quarter sheet of Stonehenge Aqua watercolor paper. I'm going to take the medium hake and wet this. And then I'll talk about the palette and plan for today. Alright, so let's see, we're all nice and centered. Okay. Alright, so today I think I'm going to work in the plan and the style of one that we did, it was just last week or a week and a half ago, where we took the two tones, the Venetian red, sorry, the two values, colors, Venetian red and the sap green, and mixed those together, the complementary colors, and applied them in the style of the oil painting tonalists. And the reception was pretty good. The reception was really good from that. People really enjoyed that video and enjoyed the results. So I wanted to play around with it again and have some fun with it. I'm on Mardi Gras break, which was nice. We get a few days off for that. I do have some coaching obligations during this time period, though. Near the end of the week, we'll be hosting the high school regionals for the High School Powerlifting Association, and and that'll be a 2-day event. So it'll be 3 days with setup and weigh-ins and all that other stuff. But it's good, you know. It's the beginning of the, I guess, the end of the powerlifting season. We'll do that, and then about a month later, it's high school state. Then they roll into high school nationals, and to take about a month off, and then our training begins again in the summer. So anyway, one thing with the video last time, and maybe those watching can offer suggestions. I'm using the Samsung Galaxy, the S8, to film this. And the filming and the photography itself is pushing the photo more towards the red side of things. And whenever I took my final photo to upload it, I actually had to use a filter to kind of mimic what I saw with my eyes. And if you are, you know, out there and watching this and you guys know about those type of things, if you know how to correct that, you know, please give me a heads up, because first and foremost, I want you guys to see the exact, you know, color variations that I'm working with, and the results. You know, I don't want to misrepresent anything. So, not that anybody's accused me of that or said anything like that. I don't want to you know, present it in the best way possible. That being said, somebody had asked me about their red being a little bit different from mine, and you can look at the pigment options, and I think all of these earth tone reds are going to be PR 101, but a good resource, a comparison tool for those is, I hope I'm not mispronouncing this, but a Jane Blundell, Blundell. She's a watercolorist, and I believe she is either writing a book or had written a book on color theory, and she has loads and loads of swatches of the different colors for you to compare on her website. So check that out. I believe she has some of the pages organized by brand and others by color options. So check her out. So I'm mixing up light the Venetian red and the sap green, and I'm making a kind of brownish mud on my palette. I'm gonna get some more sap green on here, just because my mixture turned out nice and muddy. I do want some green tones to show through, and I do want some red to show through. So I'm gonna try to pick up some pure color on my brush as well. I don't have a composition in mind. It's going to be relatively simple, but let's see what we can do. Okay, so we're going wet and wet right here. You can see how it's just spreading out, so that'll probably just help me with the spontaneity of this. Usually, if you follow my videos, you'll know that I'll put in the sky and the background first and then dry it out. With this approach, I am going wet and wet, but putting my masses in without putting the sky in. And this is the style that I learned from, of course I'm going to draw a blank, I'm sorry, from the two painters, Dennis Sheehan, and, oh God, why can't I not think of it? Stuart Davies, there we go. The crazy thing is I'm always looking for updates for their posts because I love watching videos by them, and here I am. It is, like I said, the first day of vacation, and I think it's 7:30 in the morning. On Fridays I run makeup practice for the kids, and like I said, right near the end of the season, so we only had 5 kids in there. It was my back day, and then once I got home, I took some medicine and took a nap, woke up, ate, and went back to sleep. I woke up pretty early. Of course, that's the way it's going to work on a vacation, right? You get a chance to sleep, and then your mind's still in work mode. So I'm just pushing things around right now, seeing what type of shape we want to come up with. We will wind up utilizing either Payne's Gray, or maybe I'll use like Indothrone or something like that, the last stage or near the end, to start darkening like some of the extreme dark spots. And then in the sky I'll play with a little bit of cerulean blue, just a light wash. Okay, so I started getting my shapes in. And I can utilize a water bottle to spray back and forth and re-wet whenever I'm having issues, so just keep that in mind. I do this to flatten the paper. Now, we could take paper towels, and this is a dirty paper towel. It really doesn't matter. Lift up some of that light that would come through the tree from behind. Soften some of these top edges, and also pick up some of that extra water. And the paper towel can be used for texture. And we'll come back in over these guys with more pigment and more shapes. Pull some water out of the brush. That's more just pure sap green. Probably have about half sap green, half Venetian red on this brush in various spots on it. This is a fun experiment because it helps you think about how you want to push things forward and push things back. Where I would think, and you're starting to create like shapes and whatnot. Like here, I'm starting to see a water area like that. That's the edge of it. And I have this closer edge of growth, and while this tree mass is being pushed back, I'm just catching the glow. But what I was going to say was it lets you push and pull values with this method. Push things back, pull things forward, and I think that's pretty interesting. I think that's a big part of oil painting. I mean, even though I'm watercoloring, I think that's a big point with that. Where in watercolor, it's often recommended to go from light to dark, right? Here, we could put in and pull out and do like a subtractive method. So add and subtract, soften and embolden. And you're going to get stronger texture in a drier area, and that pushes things a little bit forward. But if we wet it, we can maybe get it to sit back a little bit more if we wanted to. Actually, I liked the way that looked a moment ago, and how it kind of pulled forward a little more, but it's all about experimenting and seeing what can take place. I do find with water that even with this approach, I do like to change the textural stroke of water. But for me, it's going to be that horizontal, left to right, and diffusion and softening. We are going to have to bring down the darks and the reflections and the shadows. And this is somewhere where I'd put in that Payne's gray that I mentioned. I'll put some variety back here. Then I'll come and lift it. You could probably complete this whole thing with just the Hake brush and a paper towel. Scraping does give us an extra effect, In fact, I'll do that for you now. With tonalism, there is a weird thing that takes place, and I really don't know why. And tonalism, I think we all have different definitions for it, and this might be the first time you're hearing that word. Okay, so tonalism, art movement, kind of happened in a few different locations in the United States. It was, let's say, the 1880s to the 1920s. Okay, key members or key ideas in that movement was George Inez, Charles Warren Eaton, Whistler, etc. Okay. In Russia, they had tonalists. They had the French Barbanzoa movement, which they believe was influential on the American style and whatnot. Now, like I said, I'm just throwing this stuff at y'all, but within it, it wasn't so much painting a location as it was a memory or an idea, an emotion that was taking place. It's often associated with the moodiness that might take place, with emotion that might take place, a memory, etc. Usually simplistic landscapes. Maybe you can't see everything clearly. It's kind of like a fleeting image. I believe what Whistler was quoted as saying, painting should be like a breath on glass. I think there's a book on tonalism named after that. Anyway, one of the things that pops up with the landscapes, and I'll try to research more definitions and whatnot, and it is a very up in the air movement because it happened at the same time as Impressionism. Impressionism took the spotlight, and Impressionism was in the high key and whatnot, and very vibrant and colorful and bright, while tonalism usually more subdued and muted and browns and greens and purples and grays. Well, the other one had more pinks, and Impressionism had more pinks, etc. Anyway, so it seems like a very common theme is that it's backlit, meaning the sky is the source of the light from behind. Around the horizon, you'd often see a strip of light from the sunset, or a splash of that strong sunset color or sunrise color. But the trees themselves, there's often a highlighting from the front that takes place. And why is that? I do not know. I think I really just don't know with that why it happens. And somebody had pointed that out whenever in a tonalist Facebook page that I'm on, and Tonalism. By the way, the guy who runs the tonalist page started a website, tonalism.com, and he recently interviewed a contemporary tonalist painter, and that interview was very interesting. And I think it's very important for the art movement itself to start, recognizing these people that are doing this art movement, and to save their words for future generations. Because you kind of a party wants to know what this person was thinking, what their approach was to art, how they learned, etc. The guy that they had interviewed, and I feel bad not knowing his name off top. I'm not good with artist names. He had said that he had converted an old garage to a studio and spent 3 years painting in it, throwing out more paintings than he's ever seen in his life. But it was just experimenting, and that's just the best way to learn is just put paint to paper, paint to canvas. And I think that gentleman gives workshops in studios and whatnot. So yeah. Anywho, the front lighting of the tree trunks, not versed in where that comes from or why, but it just seems to work. I think it adds to the emotion and the feel of this. And what I'm doing is literally just going back and forth and playing around. Some of it soften, and then later on I'll come back over it and strengthen some of those ideas. I will let the rigor make an appearance. Here's where I'm going to have to really bring my darks in, and that's where I'm going to have to switch over that Payne's gray. It's going to come down here. So let's do that. I didn't wet my Payne's gray earlier, so. Alright, so mixing Payne's gray into this. Okay. Break through that to give us some more dimension. Get more pure sap green for this mid background brush. What I'm doing here is looking at this water, and this is a mistake that you want to watch out for. And I'm going to use this guy to measure. Okay, so we see the thickness of this area up to here. I'm repeating that thickness, even though we have that. Repeating it. I want to pinch this up shorter so that we have wider, wider, smaller as we recede back with water. And that'll make sure that we have the correct perspective taking place. So I'm bringing up that line right there. See how it's thin, thin, and then thickening as we get closer. So that is how you can fix that. So always look for that in your painting whenever you have a water stream, something like that taking place. Just think of it as the simple perspective that you see with a road, how it narrows as it goes back. Allow that same thing to happen with water. Even if it's winding, let it do that narrowing in some way, shape, or form. And then as you paint, as you do these things, like, you'll start knowing to watch out for that every time. And this is Payne's gray. Okay, so keep that in mind. And that comes with just practice, practice, practice. But you're hearing it now, so you can add that to your toolkit, you know. I'm just pushing this water around. I do feel like I want to put an element right there, like a stopping object, so we could bring our eye back in. Paper feels dry as a bone over there. Let's mix a little bit darker, mix some Payne's gray into this at this point. Near the end, I'm going to put a wash of blue, like I said, in the sky. Could leave it nice and light like this if we want as well. And also, I'm kind of determined, but not so much determined. I want to figure out how to set up my tripod and phone so I could film the oil painting. I'm on break, so I want to do some oil painting. They had a tree element right here, which will make things interesting. So we scraped, we lifted, we used the rigger, used the paper towel, We used the hake. So we didn't really go overboard with tools or anything like that. I think we used them pretty wisely and got interesting variations from them. This is just little final touches. Sorry that I'm sniffling. We've been having like weather that's jumping up, jumping down, going back and forth, and it's just been a wreck on everybody's sinuses. Got down to 33 last night, but it was, 60s. It was like 70s the other day. So I don't know what it's doing. All right, so let's do a dry off, and then we'll put in that blue that I talked about, and we'll see what else is taking place. All right, let me get a good wash on this brush. I love a spot on that palette. Oh, now's a good time to mention, down below there's a whole bunch of different links. Feel free to check out my Facebook page, my Instagram page. I have a Patreon account. I had an Etsy account where I upload these and sell them. I have, if you, eBay, if you, not eBay, PayPal if you want to send anything my way for supplies and whatnot. That'd be greatly appreciated. What else? Check out the Tonalism. Look up that art movement. There was a few watercolorists in it, but they were kind of more the exception than the mainstream. It was mainly oil painters, I believe. Okay, we have a light wash of cerulean. What else? If you're into this style of painting with the hake brush, so the fast and loose hake brush, check out Ron Rants and Disciples on Facebook. So that's utilizing this with a limited palette, wet and wet painting. And that's based off of, Ron Rants and Disciples on Facebook. So check that out. Let me lift up this area right here. Who else do I need y'all to know about? If you check out oil painting wise, you can see where this came from with Stuart Davies or Dennis Sheehan. You can see that style being utilized there. That Tonalism YouTube website is up and running. I think the admin who is for that page runs that. I think his name is John Higston. He seems like a good guy. I believe he's an artist as well. You could, if we're getting a little fussy with that, just want to lift up a little bit of that white, I could take the magic eraser. You could buy one of these at the store, or you could go online and order a whole big old container of them for like $10 or less. It's melanin foam. It's just an abrasive foam. There's no chemicals that I know of in it. I think we'll stand up, we'll take a look. The video itself is a little bit darker than the actual photo, than the actual painting, so I'm going to do a photo and we'll see how it looks. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to follow along and have a great day.